Hey everyone. So I had a dream in July of 2022 that I went to hell. So I'm going to tell you about the dream, and I'm also going to explain the spiritual things that I learned in this dream. And the things that I learned, to my knowledge, I've never heard anyone talk about some of the things that I learned in the dream. So I actually uploaded this same, well, very similar video, the same story to YouTube. I think it was the end of 2022. And I got so much hate from the video that I took it down. And I just decided, you know what, if people are going to be that nasty, I'm not going to share. But the Lord has been dealing with me to put this video back up again and share it. So as a result, I've cut the comments off because some of the things, some of the demonic things that people were saying were just crazy. And then I blurred out my face because whenever I start revealing some of this spiritual stuff, I know that there's going to be people who say that I'm race baiting when I talk about the Hebrew Israelites and when I talk about um, Adam and Eve and just the things that the Bible says. But in the dream, I had more of a spiritual awareness about certain things. So just to kind of give you a little um, bit of information about me, I was one of those kids who asked a million questions. There are kids that ask a lot of questions. And whenever I hear a child doing that, it doesn't bother me because I was one of those kids. But I asked a lot of spiritual questions. I wanted to know things that most kids my age didn't seem to care about. And I would ask my teachers at school. They would say, honey, I don't know. Go ask your parents. I would go home and ask. My mom would tell me, I don't know, go ask your teachers. And one time, my mom just set me down and said, you're going to have to go to God to get answers to those questions because we don't know. Those questions that you're asking are spiritual things. I wanted to know, and I'm sure a lot of other kids ask, but I ask all the time, where does God come from? Are angels girls and boys? They have families in heaven, just asking tons and tons of things. My younger brother, one time, he said, you just ask too many questions. And so I went to the Lord asking him, and this was when I was a kid, and here I am much older now, I'm an adult. And so I just felt like over the years, he just really wasn't answering my questions. And I just thought, I heard somebody say, well, there are a lot of things you won't know on the earth. You have to wait until like you get to heaven or maybe until you die. Maybe he'll reveal those things then. I thought, okay, well, maybe I just have to wait. So now we're going to speed up until December 2021. My biological father passed away. And every single year since 2017, I did skip a couple of years, but I did a 7-day water fast where I would fast strictly for 7 days and only drink water. And it was time for me to do my 7-day water fast for 2021. And my father had passed away around that time. And I really, the Lord was leading me into fasting. And I remember praying and telling the Lord, that I really was going to need him because I just lost my father and I need him to be my father, him to be a father to me. And so the Lord was telling me to fast. But every time I tried, and I would do this throughout the year, like 3, 4 day water fast. So it wasn't a big deal for me. But every time I even tried to fast one day, this desire to eat. Like I just had this urge to eat. And it was really, really hard for me to fast. And I prayed, I said, Lord, you're telling me to fast. But every time I try, I have this strong desire to eat even more. I need you to help me. So I had a dream that night that Yeshua, the world knows him as Jesus, and I'll talk about him too, and I'll talk about Yahweh the Father. But Jesus reached his hand down in the dream. He grabbed my hand. I reached mine up and he grabbed it. And then that next day, I went into fasting without a problem. So I did 7 days. And I had more of a desire to read my Bible. I had more of a desire. I pray constantly anyway, but just to have that closer connection to the Most High, to Yah. And I was getting close to him throughout the year. And now, one of the things I also would ask him is, Lord, there's so many different doctrine upon this earth. I need to worship you in spirit and in truth. So I need the truth. What is the absolute truth? I want to worship you in spirit and in truth, which is what you want us to do. Well, please reveal that truth to me. I want no lies. I want the absolute truth. So now we're going to fast forward to July 2022. This is when I had this hell dream. And what I believe brought it on was I heard someone who was a Jehovah's Witness talk about Jehovah. They call him Jehovah. And they said that they don't believe that Jehovah created a place like hell for humans. They think that he possibly created hell for the fallen angels. Um, and I grew up in church, and I grew up being taught that hell existed. And so for the very first time in my life, I actually questioned whether or not hell really existed. I thought, well, maybe I don't know much about Jehovah's Witnesses, but maybe they're right about this. Maybe hell does not exist. Or if it does exist, it does not exist to the extent that we've been taught. Maybe it's not as bad as we've been taught. I'm sure it's still a bad place, but maybe it was just meant for the fallen angels and not necessarily for humans to have to be tortured. So maybe it's not what we think it is, if it exists at all. Now, when I was debating to myself whether or not hell existed, I was actually laying in bed and I was getting ready to go to sleep. And I just thought, you know what? I won't worry about it. I will pray about it later. I'm going to go to sleep. I'm tired. It's been a long day. So I closed my eyes to go to sleep. And that same night, I had a dream that I was in hell. Now, this is my experience. I did not only dream that I was in hell, every question that I asked throughout my life, I had access to that information. But here's the thing: the spiritual world, there are no secrets. And you the spiritual world is vast, it's unlimited knowledge. But the moment that you come back into this physical world, the moment that I woke up, I didn't remember a lot of the things that I knew when I was asleep. So, and I still don't have that information. Like, I still don't remember a lot of those things. So part of the dream has holes in it. Like, I don't remember every little thing, but I will reveal what I do remember, and then I will reveal what happened to me, because I did remember what happened to me during my hell experience, because I was in two places at once in this dream. So basically, the dream started off where, and I can only do 30 minutes with each video. So what I'm going to do is, immediately after I finish this one, if I didn't get to finish, I will do a part two immediately after. And if there's something that I didn't get to, because it's a lot of information that I know from the dream, and if I don't get to that in the next in part one or part two, I will definitely upload subsequent videos and talk about it. So if you subscribe and click the notification bell, you'll be notified whenever I upload those videos, and I'll try and do it as soon as I can. So the dream started off, and I don't know at what point I fell asleep, but all I know is I see in front of me nothing but total darkness. And it was so thick, and it was so black that, and I'm a melanated woman, I'm a black woman, and I could not see even my palm in front of my face. It was completely black. So, but I'm aware that I didn't realize I was dreaming, but I thought I was in the spiritual world. I'm aware that I'm in the spiritual world, but I didn't realize it was through my dream, because we're twofold. We're both physical and spiritual beings. So we're living a spiritual and a physical life at the same exact time. So one way, and this is what I knew from the dream, one way that you can tell the difference in if something is physical or if something is spiritual is, in this physical world, we're led through our five senses: touch, taste, smell, see, and hear. Now, a person's dreams and a person's mind, if you can touch it, if you can taste it, smell it, see it, hear it, that's a physical thing. But since you cannot, it's a spiritual thing. So the mind of a person, and when a person dreams, they're in the spiritual world. That's the connection they have to the spiritual. So I'm aware. I didn't realize I was dreaming, but I was aware that I was in the spiritual world. So I perceived energy. So the way that it works in the spiritual world is you perceive energy. So in this physical world, the way that I know a person is by looking at them, right? I can smell them. That's how you know who a person is. You see them, you smell them, right? Or, you can touch them, you can have an idea of who this person is. But in the spiritual world, it does not work like that. In the spiritual world, you perceive their energy. So I perceived energy, and this person was to my left, was standing to my left. Even though it was completely dark, I knew someone was there. So the energy that I perceived was the energy of, and the world calls him Jesus, but I call him by his Hebrew name, Yeshua. So I perceived his energy, and I'll talk more about him later in the dream. I mean, in the video. So I knew that he was basically talking to me, but it was not the way that I'm talking to you. It was telepathically. So he was speaking to me in my mind. And the reason why, and I had answers to these things, like to know why things were happening. And so the reason why he was speaking to me in my mind is because this is spiritual. We were in the spiritual realm. And so nothing is hidden in the spiritual world. Everything, there's complete access to everything, to knowledge, to information. Nothing is hidden. So in this physical world, if I close a door between the two of us, you can't see me. I'm hidden away from you. Secrets are kept in the physical world, but secrets are not kept in the spiritual world. So I knew his thoughts. That's why he was able to telepathically tell me. But here's the thing. I remember asking the Lord, asking Yah the Father a question about his thoughts. And I was like, Lord, I want to know everything about you. I don't want you to hold any secrets. I want us to be like the best of friends. And I don't know why I said don't hold secrets, but I believe that some of the questions that I've asked him throughout my life were not my questions. I believe that some of this stuff he put in me so that I would ask him. The desire came from him, I do believe, because me asking those questions allowed him to answer those questions. And so now I'm doing a video because we're in the last days and truth is coming back up on the earth. Because remember when the Bible talks about Satan is the father of lies? Well, in order to be the father of something, you have to have reproduced something. So Satan has reproduced lies. In the dream, I understood that the truth is coming back into the world because the truth is a foundation, because Yeshua is coming back. The truth is a foundation for him to stand on. He stands on the truth. So in these last days, you're going to see people doing videos about coming forward, telling you dreams, visions, and it's going to come from men and women. Remember that the Lord says, in the last days, I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh. Sons and daughters shall prophesy. Because a lot of people will talk about what Paul said in Timothy. He doesn't think a woman should teach. But you always have to go by what the Lord says. What did the Lord say? He said he will pour out his spirit upon all flesh. Sons and daughters shall prophesy. And not only that, but I was aware that kids will be prophesying too. So it won't just be adults, it'll also be children. If Yeshua can speak through the mouth of a donkey in the Bible, surely he can speak through a human being. We're made higher than the animals. But anyway, so in the spiritual world, there's nothing hidden. And I remember asking the Lord, like I said before, I was asking him to know his thoughts. So this is what he revealed to me in the dream. So it's like I'm standing in front of a chalkboard, and the chalkboard is from one end of a wall to the other end of a wall. And there's like 2 feet, right, of mathematical equations. It's both numbers and letters. I have a little piece of chalk in my hand. And I remember looking at this mathematical equation and saying to myself, no one in heaven or earth other than the Lord can give the answer to this problem. So the Lord revealed to me in the dream to answer my question. He's saying, I don't keep secrets. That's why people know other people's thoughts in the spiritual world. There are no secrets being kept. The problem is, he said, I'm basically an open book. Anything you want to know about me, you can know. The problem is, you can't comprehend my thoughts. So it's not that I'm hiding secrets from you, because if he was explaining to me that if we're in a relationship, a connection. So when you have friendships and you have relationships with other people and friendships, when you're connected to them, there should not be any secrets. That's why you become one, right? There's no secrets. There's no division. When you get married, you become one. So he said, he's basically saying there's no secrets because secrets hinder trust. So if I'm keeping a secret from someone and we're supposed to be in a friendship, some type of relationship, family ship or whatever, Any secrets that I have will hinder the trust of between me and that person. So he's saying that I don't keep secrets from you. I don't want to hinder the trust. I don't want to hinder you from trusting me. But you just can't you can't understand or comprehend my thoughts. They are too complex. So that's what he was revealing to me. That's why we in the spiritual world, we can speak telepathically. Same thing with Yeshua. You know what they allow you to know, but they have to come. They have to basically talk to you. You know how like we talk to babies and we go, "Oh, sweet little baby." You know, we have that baby talk. It's almost kind of like they got to come down to our level and talk to us in those simplistic ways because we don't understand their level of thinking, their comprehension. So, but anyway, and I realize I'm at 16 minutes already. I'm going to have to do a second part. So he's explaining to me. So what Yeshua does, I'm sorry, I don't even know if I said this or not, but he takes his hand like this and he tears a hole in this darkness because there was nothing but darkness in front of me. He tears a hole in this darkness, makes a tear in it. He takes his right hand and his forefinger and he draws a circle. So he's basically opening up this darkness so that this there's a circle here and all the darkness has gone on the outside of this circle and the inside of this circle is basically just like this dim moonlight. That's kind of what it looked like. So he's emphasizing to me to look into this circle. So I looked in the circle and I saw myself in the circle. And what's weird to me, and remember, I said, I don't remember every little thing. There are bits and pieces that I don't remember. But what was weird to me is when I saw myself, I was not alone, first of all, and I couldn't measure the number. What I mean is, I never got the exact measurement. It was immeasurable. Like I couldn't I was in this circle with other people. I don't know if it was six people that were with me, seven people, eight other people. I'm not really sure. I couldn't give a exact number, but there were other people there in this circle with me. But and I did not look anything like I look right now. I looked so different, and that's the thing. I knew my spirit, even though I look so different from what I look like right now. I still knew my spirit. So I looked directly at myself and I knew that's me. So Yeshua was basically, he was explaining to me that when he drew the circle, he was starting from the beginning. So, and he's also saying that, and this is the thing, in the spiritual world, you can have multiple conversations at once with multiple people. And every person's conversation is followed through completely. Here, we're in the physical world, we're limited in what we can know, what we can do. We have so many different limitations, but not in the spiritual world. So he was giving me different things at once, and I was understanding everything that he was explaining to me. And one of the things he said is, I started at the beginning, basically, just like humanity. At the very beginning of humanity was created in humility. So it is important for humans to remain humble. And he said basically when you start your life off, he's pointing to the beginning of the circle where he started. He's because he made a perfect circle. And I guess if you're looking at the circle, it looked like, because he did it clockwise. So it looked like, I guess, a clock. Just make it in your mind, just make it appear as though you're looking at a clock. And I'm going to tell you why in just a moment. But he's explaining to me that humanity began with humility. And he said, at the beginning of your life, you were a baby. He's explaining about humanity. You all started off as a baby and you had no teeth. You were in diapers. If you're anything like me, you really didn't have any hair. You couldn't lift your head. You couldn't move around. You were completely dependent upon someone else. But in that dependency, that taught you gratitude. You learned to be grateful. You're supposed to keep that same childlike humility throughout your life. And then when you get old, you go back into humility. When you get old, you lose your hair, your teeth. You go back into diapers. If you get old enough, someone has to take care of you the same way they did when you were a baby, because you're going back into that level. You're going back into humility because the spiritual world is humble. It's a humble world. So if you go to heaven, you're humble. And if you go to hell, you're humbled. So the spiritual world is a very humbled world. So when you come into this earth, that's why when you come into the earth, you're coming out of that spiritual world into the physical, and you come in humbled because you were just in this spiritual world, a very humbled world. And then when you die, when people die on their deathbeds, they have a tendency to reveal secrets and go back into that humility because they're getting ready to go into the spiritual world, a world of humility. And so um, he's basically telling me you're supposed to keep the same humility throughout your life, because what happens is the spiritual world always balances out this physical world. So whenever things happen in our life, the spirit of humility will come in and balance us out. So we'll know that, like, we'll notice that these random things happen in our lives to humble us, because that's the spiritual world balancing out this physical world. I'll talk more about that in another video. But he's explaining that my life on earth had ended, and now I am in this place, and I'm here for eternity. So before I had this dream, I thought eternity meant forever, but he was explaining to me eternity does not mean forever. Eternity means the absence of time. So he said, I'm in here for eternity. There's no concept of time in the spiritual world. So now, all of a sudden, and I don't know when this happened, but the next thing I know, he's gone. His energy is gone, and I'm standing. Now, think about a clock. So he drew this circle, and if you're looking at a clock, I would be standing at the number 6 on this clock. And 6 is the number of man. But we're getting ready to go into the Sabbath. And I'll explain that in another video as well. Trust me, I'm going to write down all of this stuff so that I make sure I explain it. But we're in, this is the year of man. This is the time of man. And we're getting ready to go into the Sabbath when Yeshua is going to rest for that last 1,000 years. But so I'm standing. Okay, it's hard to explain, but there's two of me, right? One of me is still inside the circle with the other people, but the one of me who was communicating with Yeshua, I'm now standing at the number. I'm at the base of the circle, which is where the number 6 would be if you were looking at a clock. So I'm still inside this dim moonlight. If I took a step back, I would be in the outer darkness, but I'm just inside the circle. I'm just inside this dim moonlight, and I'm watching myself. I'm looking at myself. The part of me inside the circle is literally walking around this circle. Um, so let me explain. I'm going to start explaining the part of me that's in the outer darkness first, and then I'll finish up in the next video with the remainder of the hell portion about me being inside the circle. So the part of me standing in the outer darkness was the one that was getting the information. All of the questions that I had been asking all of these years was finally answered. I don't remember the answer to everything, but I do remember the answer to a lot of stuff. So I remember the part of me that was standing in front of the outer darkness. I looked up and saw that above me it looked black, but there was an opening up there. And I looked up and I felt like I could look really, really high. Like my eyes could see things. I don't know. I can't explain it, but my vision, I didn't have to wear glasses. Like I have prescription glasses that I wear sometimes at night because the bright lights for other cars. Like I didn't feel like I would have to even put glasses on. I was able to look up and see that there was a piece of earth. It looked like a cliff, and there was a little bit of grass that was on the dirt that was up on the cliff. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm in the earth. I'm in the bowels of the earth. So I knew that I had died upon this earth, and I do not remember how. I thank the Lord I don't remember how, because if I would have remembered it, let's just say if it was a car accident or something, every time I got in the car, I would have been terrified. So I thank the Lord I don't remember how I died, but I died upon the earth. I knew that. And I knew that when I died, per the covenant that the Lord made with the earth, she kept my body, but she threw me out. She threw my spirit out into like the galaxy, the universe. So she rejected my spirit because she doesn't keep my spirit. She keeps my body, and she's going to recycle my body. My body gets recycled. And what I mean is she keeps my body. My body was originally supposed to be buried in dirt. Now they put people in caskets and embalm them, but we were supposed to be buried in the dirt. And what happened is our bodies would decompose. And so our skin and our fluids would decompose, and our cells and all of that would decompose into the ground. And the earth would use our body as fertilizer so that we could help. We could fertilize like plants and trees and herbs to grow for the people who are still here. Like you don't, there's really no such thing as death. Well, okay, let me just put it this way. God, the God of heaven, he's the God of life. He supports life, he encourages life, but there is a God of death, but it's not death in the way that we know it, because even when our bodies die, they don't completely die, they get recycled. But when I say death, the wages of sin is death. And so basically, sin has a covenant with hell and sin has a covenant with death and with hell. So when you sin, you're encouraging both death and the spirit of hell. And we're talking about spiritual things. We're not these. So, and I don't know if I'm gonna get to it to be able to explain it completely in this video because I'm almost at 30 minutes. But the things that we talk about, like Christianity, I grew up in Christianity. Christianity taught me that the earth is dead and the sun is dead. No, in the dream, I understood everything is alive. It all has a spiritual component. If the earth were dead, she could not sustain life. Nothing that is dead can sustain life. Only life can sustain life. She has to be alive in order to sustain life. In order for us to eat her herbs, eat from the trees, and in order for the animals to, in order for her to sustain life, the life of so many people, of billions of people, she has to be alive. But in order for something to be alive, it has to have a spirit within it, because once the spirit is separated from the body gets recycled. So the earth has a spirit within her, but she's on a time limit and she's getting old. So the earth is going to die, which is why there's going to be a new heaven and a new earth. But she's not going to necessarily die in the way that we're used to. She's going to be recycled. So, but there's going to be a new heaven and a new earth, because everything in this physical world has a time limit, and we're nearing the end of time. And the earth is not billions of years old. I'll tackle that in another video. So, but anyway, she threw me out because on the earth, she kept my body, but my bones, everybody here. So the Lord has laws, statutes, commands, not just in the physical, but also in the spiritual. One of those is that every one of us has proof that we were once upon the earth, and it's through our bones. So that is your proof that you've been here, your bones. But as far as your body, the skin and the organs and all of that, the fluids, that gets recycled. So the earth could not keep me, because there was a covenant between the earth and the Father, and he gets the spiritual part, and so she keeps the body. Let me just say real quick before I end that the Lord has covenants. He has agreements with the sun, the moon, the stars, the earth, even the angels, to keep humanity alive, to help humanity. When he created us, he put covenants in place to keep us alive and to help us. Because whenever you whenever these angels they're in the spiritual world, right? And we're in the physical. Well, whenever you're in the spiritual, whenever you're close to Yah, if you're close to him mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, the closer you are to the Father, the closer you are, the less of a desire you have to sin. So these angels are closer to him in proximity. And his energy is the energy of purity. It's a pure energy. So you have less of a desire to sin when you're in his energy. But we're in a different dimension. So they help us. The angels, part of their covenant is to help us. There were some angels who decided not to help us, and they did not humble themselves. They were prideful, and there was a war in heaven. A third of them were kicked out. I'll tackle that in another video. But I'm nearing the 30-minute mark for this video. So what I'm going to do is I'm immediately going to do video number 2. So go ahead and look for that second part of this video. And I may, it depends on time, I may do a third video today. So there may be 3 to look for. But I'm going to go ahead and stop now and start on part two.